Anyway,
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Gets me every time. All right. Dangers of Waterfalling.
All right, Alex, we got 5 minutes on the clock, another episode of Opt-In today. And I want to talk about some of the dangers associated with the phrase commonly known as backwards waterfalling. Basically, for managers to take a look at dashboards and use conversion metrics to just plan out everything when it comes to their SDR's activities. Before I give my opinion, I'm going to turn the table over to you and tell me, what do you think about waterfalling, pros and cons, your experience, so on and so forth.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, backwards waterfalling would not be falling, right? I just want to make that clear. The water's going up.
Yeah, you're water upping.
You want. And now I know why we call it what we do. Anyway, yeah, it's strategy that I feel like is one of those things that looks really good on paper, but when you go and try and execute it, it never turns out how it does, right? Because you have a well-performing SDR or maybe a small team, and you're like, all right, this is what works. I know it works because they all do it really well. Let's double it, right? What could go wrong? And
easy.
And what could go wrong, AJ? What do you think?
I mean, when you look at that example specifically, doubling it, tripling it, whatever, I like to think that math scales infinitely, right? Like 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Like you can do that forever and ever and ever because there's no constraint. You can do it in a vacuum. You can't do that with sales. You're not looking at metrics or people in a vacuum. And because of that, there are outside forces that impact whether or not you can just double out or input to double output. That's not how it works. I think the most common cardinal sin associated with all of this, other than the fact that, if I just double calls, I'll double outputs. That's not how that works. It's that you're looking only at dashboards to make those decisions. Like you're not taking into account the people that you're dealing with, because those are much more moving parts based. Like numbers are going to stay numbers, but if your reps are doing really well and it's because of something that you haven't foreseen or forecasted in some type of metric, and then you try to double it, maybe new reps that come in don't have the same resources or attitude or something that the old reps do have, and therefore they're not hitting numbers, and you're like, what the heck? I forecasted double and I'm not getting double.
Yeah, and it's something that I think you see more and more as more technology becomes available. There's more data, there are more metrics to look at. So it's easy to fall back on them and sort of start relying on them as a way to measure your success and what directions you should be growing in. But I think what it can do a lot of times is pull the manager away from managing the people that they manage, right? The personalities, the motivations, where are they going with their career, right? All of those things that are super important for a manager to be able to help an SDR with can sometimes get lost when you're like, well, they might not be the most motivated, but if I just give them this new email template, their results will be better. Instead of thinking, well, if I talk to them about maybe they're having a crappy week, and I won't have to change anything other than having a discussion with them and being open and upfront, then next week will be better, right? You're getting the same, in theory, result there, but the one based on the data is much more measurable, so it's much easier to think about in terms of how is this going to help, and this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah, and that's not to say also that like this idea of waterfalling or forecasting is bad. It's necessary for a lot of teams because you need some benchmark numbers to go off of, right? You can't just like throw a dart and hope that, hey, today 80 call activities work and tomorrow 40 call activities work. Like you have numbers to back up some basic inferences you can make about what your team needs to do on a daily basis to hit the goals that you've put in front of them. And obviously you can troubleshoot those as you grow as an organization and evolve. But the issue then becomes like what you were saying. Like, I think I can just make this small tweak, and because of the numbers that we have, it should increase things by X%. That's just not reasonable to imagine, knowing that there are a bunch of other variables to consider when going through that process. So it's really about kind of towing that line, I think, and we've talked about this in the past, between being a data-driven manager and that sort of like raw type manager, where you can use both. You can understand the data and the metrics behind stuff to make inferences, but you can also talk to your team and look at them as human beings and understand what makes them tick, what motivations they have, what incentives they respond to, and use that to get more out of the data and sort of have them inference each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me throw, I know we have like 5 seconds left or something.
God.
Let me throw a quick question at you. Do you think as technology advances and we've noticed a lot more conversational intelligence and things that really analyze personalities more than there have been in the past, do you think that the technology will eventually get to the place where it can help with this, you know, the managing the person versus managing the data? Or do you think the fact that it's technology really holds it to the data?
I don't think we'll ever get there. I think there's something so nuanced about managing a person and an understanding as like human to human, that type of connection that you just won't get from a piece of technology. There's, I think, the assistance that we can get from technology in the future with the way that a lot of these AI or intelligence tools are evolving will get better, and we'll need less management from the manager side of things. But there's like a coaching and sort of like individual human to human aspect of being a person's manager that you cannot replace with a piece of technology. That's just my opinion.
I like it, because then you use the increasing technology so that you don't have to worry about it as much, so you can worry and focus on your people. I like it.
Genius.
All right, AJ, 15 seconds. Tell everyone about opt-in.
Opt-in, quick, 5-minute videos, no fluff, actionable tips. You can find us on our YouTube, on our LinkedIn, on our Instagram, and on the website, demanddrive.com.
So obviously forecasting based stuff.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just writing that stuff down so I have it. I'm also writing it down on the, what?
We're recording it. Why write it down?
Because I want to look at it. Wow, shut up. You know what? Just shut up. Just shut up.